And I just wanted to give an overview and an update on where we're at since the state Senate bill was passed 4 years ago. I'm trying to shift away from my Vanna White moment to this. Okay, so I want to do an overview. I want to tell you where it's at, how everyone's doing, and that means providers mostly, payers secondarily. I've got just a very few slides in there giving you an overview on the enhancement that was put in last year and how it's going. If you have not used Provider Source, I'm going to give you some instructions on how to get started. So why are we talking about Provider Source? In 2009, with the Admin Simplification Senate bill that was passed, 5346, a component of that, the rest of the components had to deal with transactions, codes, pre-auth that Bill has talked about in previous years at the One Healthport workshops. The remaining piece of that was credentialing. Out of that came a voluntary adoption by payors to pick up records on providers in a central database. So let's go back to the word, voluntary adoption. That's key for how the Senate bill was written because it meant to some payers, get in line, this is the right thing to do, quit asking for paper for so many, 30 pieces of WPA applications, same information, yada, yada. You guys are all nodding. You know what I'm talking about. So the OIC put the word voluntary in there to help this bill get passed. Some payers have adopted it, embraced it, and some are getting on board, and some are not doing so well, just to put it bluntly. So the objective for all of this, of course, is to relieve the providers from having to go out and, I won't mention names, other credentialing databases, paper, because paper isn't going anywhere anymore, even though it's still being used, it's being phased out. And also for you all as providers to someday have a place where you can do all of your data entry on all of your providers in a common database that's going to be shared by others that need the information. So with a click of a button, they get your data and you don't have to go, okay, I'll break what I'm doing right now and fax it to you. I'll do what I'm doing right now and get another signature. Didn't say it was easy, I just said that's the objective. The longer term objective is to do what I just said, which is get to a common place, front end portal, you put it in, back end portal, they pull it out. We have that today, but we want it all across the state of Washington and of course beyond. So the Provider Source application in late 2010, it meant to go out sooner. We had to refine it a lot. When I say we, MedVersant owns this application. There's rumor out there that One Healthport has it. I get calls all the time. Can One Healthport do this for me? Can you look at my application? I can't see anything. I don't want to see your application. It's none of my business. But what I can do is I can work with MedVersant to help you find the answer. I am the contact person with MedVersant. I'm the liaison for you. So we refined it, and then on top of just a provider, it was built initially for someone to just go in and put data on Dr. Smith. Well, there are some practices out there that have 10 Dr. Smiths. So you needed an application that as a credentialing manager, and that's your role on One Healthport, credentialing manager, you go in, log in with your One Healthport login. It says, yes, Susie Smith, credentialing manager, can go in and do 10 applications. You can't do the attestations, but you can do the data entry on the remainder of it. So that was rolled out last year. It has gone through a couple of different enhancement periods. Most of the time it worked. Few bugs, but not as many as the original application that was rolled out in 2011. At least that's what providers tell me. So since that time, adoption has taken on a very slow rate from payers. Since August 1, Premera says, hey, everybody start using Provider Source, and this is how we're going to roll you out in the following year. Again, if you're already credentialed with them, they're going to honor that until your next cycle is up. But if you're not, you're new, or you need to be re-credentialed, they're making you go through Provider Source, i.e. means you have to be registered with One HealthPort to log in. Cigna completely outsourced their credentialing to MedVersant nationally, and they're rolling that out, and I can't speak for Cigna today, but I think dental was recently. So nationally, not just Washington, nationally they rolled it out to MedVersant, the same people that own this application. LNI started about 1.5 to 2 years ago, is that correct? With rolling out to Provider Source in whatever way they could get it done, paper, the other system, they were getting their 20,000 that they wanted to achieve. I don't think they made 20,000. I think they came in just under that, 18. Okay, good. Thank you for being back there. But they really did make a push. They had a short period of time, and they were one of the original drivers, and then Premera got on. There are a couple of others that I can't tell you about because they're finalizing their plans that will be jumping on in the next 3 to 4 months. So you can see it's starting to get some traction. Certainly slow. And certainly all of us have worked really hard talking to them to go faster. As providers, we now have over 22,000 provider records for Washington on that database, and over 10,000, it's roughly about 10,500 right now, are retrievable, attested, updated records on providers in Washington State, which means 10,500 providers have their records in there for health plans to pick up. We wanted it to be a lot higher, but I think that's pretty good for having been rolled out, having bugs, people trying to communicate, oh no, do this, do that. You know, it's not been, let's say, communicated fairly across all lines. Providers have been confused about what to do. I think that's pretty darn good. So I don't know how many in the room have used Provider Source with a raise of hand, if you could tell me. Wow, that's a lot more than I thought, because 2 years ago when I asked, it was like 4 hands were raised. So those of you who have used it and didn't like it the first time and have not gone back, and I know you're out there, I want you to go back out there. Because if you put in your name, the provider name and the NPI or birth date, none of that information was deleted. It's still out there. It's not finished, but you need to complete and attest it. For those of you who have been out there and been struggling with trying to get it all done and chasing down providers to get attestations because you can't do it anymore, I don't want to know if you really are. I'm not the police. But it is a challenge. It's been quite a technology challenge for you all. So thank you for using it. So the account manager enhancement, and I'm going to show you some of those. This was created, like I said earlier, so that you could do multiple providers, single data point. So you have 8 providers at one location. You're typing 8 times that same location address, the MPI numbers, whatever you're typing multiple times. This was created so you do it once. It populates to all the applications that you designate should be associated with that address. You designate who should have those location sites. If you have sub-organizations or small clinics that are affiliated to your master facility or clinic, you get to choose who those providers are at that clinic. Second thing is you have a dashboard that I'm going to show you as the credentialing manager, and not anybody else in your organization can see this. It's just you. You have a dashboard where you can pop in to individual applications and not have to go in through a different portal and see one at a time. You can actually pop in and out. So you can stay in that application as long as you need to do, as long as you're active and it doesn't close. Already talked to you about one provider to practice locations at one time, more than one, and repetitive data entry. So this is your dashboard. When you log in as a credentialing manager, if you have that role, you should see this. If you don't see this, your One HealthPort account is not set up correctly. And you need to email me, call me, whatever. I'll tell you what to do, who to talk to, how to do it. I'll send you to the setup, the getting started instructions. But if you don't see that and you have more than one provider, you didn't do something right. And it's okay. It's really easy to fix. I have no problem coming in and helping you do that. I've met with the physical therapist departments in the city. I've met with management. I've helped all sorts of folks. I don't mind doing it. So I want to show you a couple things on this, and I want to make sure I use the pointer correctly. So it has two sections, managing the provider and managing the practice. You click on any of those, and I'm going to show you a couple more slides. It allows you to associate providers to practice addresses and location sites. Anytime you're built on One HealthPort, you have an organization account on One HealthPort. That address that you put in on that organization, when you log into ProviderSource, it's swept into that application for you. It's going to say, hello, Julie Smith, and the organization that you're representing. It's up to you to correct the information on One HealthPort if it's wrong, and correct it in the data entry that you're doing. But whatever you've got on One HealthPort, that's the piece of information that's flowing over. The other piece of this is, on this dashboard, is a help guide. It's a PDF, so all you do is click on it. You can still stay in the application. And if you get stuck on something like, what do I do? Where do I go for this? How do I look this up? How do I move the provider over? I made a mistake, whatever. It's in that guide. So back to the dashboard. This happens to be me. It also now populates the attestation date when I last went in and did my attestation. You don't have to look it up. You don't have to scroll. And you can click on that blue line, and that takes you straight into my application. There was a question. Hi, Shay.
So during one of your guys' upgrades, it seems like
Stand up.
during
Thank
one
you.
of your upgrades, it seems like the attestation dates disappeared,
Uh-huh.
and that page is not alphabetized.
Right.
So I didn't know if that was you or MedPerson.
It's never us. It's always MedVersa. No, seriously, I need for you guys to understand, I can't see your information, and I don't want to, and you don't want me to. So it is not alphabetized, and we've asked for them to do that. It's slated to be done. I have no date. And the attestation dates, interesting that you say that, because some people, I've queried people, are the attestation dates showing up? Yes. I'll query somebody else. No. So I don't know whether it's because when they did their attestation, it's now expired, and it's been removed because nobody went back and did a reattestation date. So I posed the question to them so it can be populated on this page what the rule is. Yes?
When we do our reattestation and we get an email saying that we were successful at that, can we assume that it's correct?
Yes. So she gets an email saying, well, she goes in and does her reattestation. She does it. She gets a confirmation that it's done. Can she assume that it's correct? Is that it? Yes. You only get that confirmation if you've done a clear, clean attestation. I do have a point to make about that. I'm going to do it when I get to that page.
As far as managing providers, if you're the credentialing manager, is there a possibility that you don't get an email saying reattestation was sent out, so that we can?
Yes, you do.
We do.
Let me tell you how.
Okay.
Yes, I was just about to do that. So as a credentialing manager, I don't get an email about whether that's been done or whether it's due to be done, right? Okay, so inside the application, there is a data entry point that says, who is my credentialing contact? You put the name and email address. If you populate that, you will get an email. I think I need a Vanna White here. Yes.
So as the credentialing manager, I've entered in a part-time provider,
Mm-hmm.
and that part-time provider also wants that information showing up for another clinic.
Yep.
Can that provider then take that information and submit it? How does it work?
So it's only meant to have one credentialing manager in charge at a time. The provider may have a sub-org or is working for another organization, and that credentialing manager can't override what you're doing. One credentialing manager at a time. But you can give him the PDF of that WPA that's already done. He can send it off, he or she can send it off to the payer that way. It depends on the setup of the provider. So that's a question that I would take offline, looking into how the provider's set up on One HealthPort and what the needs are. But remember, one credentialing manager at a time on a provider record. That's slated on a list for MedVersant to address at a later date, but it's not as critical as all the others.
How do you how do you add a person who's already credentialed in another clinic who's going to be working in both clinics, and how do you change their credentialing if they've quit another clinic and moved? And can we have your phone number so that you can help us fix our accounts?
Yeah. So you're getting to a point where this is all One HealthPort based. That's easily done. So it sounds terrible. It is not. It's easily done, and that is a question that I will do for you. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to hit a couple of the slides. It will answer a couple of the issues. So let me just do that. Maybe.
Is it?
It's not moving.
You know what? Something just locked it up. Hold on one sec. Try it now.
Okay. So remember what I said about managing the practice locations? So again, you click on Manage Practice, and this is me again. This is my information on One HealthPort, and I am a licensed practitioner, so I can show this to you. These are all the fake locations that I'm at right now, and at any time, my credentialing manager or myself can fix that location information. I can update it. You see the little pencil off to the right? You can go in and edit it. You can go in and view different pieces of it. You can actually bury right down into it, into city, fax number, email addresses of the provider. I mean, it goes into a lot of detail points. The organization, you can actually use this database. Remember what I said, you're a clinic, and you have 5 providers, 10. You can manage all the MPI information, addresses, and you can keep adding. So you save it, you go to a new one. It gives you the ability to add. Associating providers. So how you would use this page would be, here's the providers that would come over from One HealthPort. So if there's somebody listed that should not be there, you got to go back to the One HealthPort organization on One HealthPort and delete them, inactivate their account. Whatever you need to do, this is only going to come over with what we have. So if it's outdated, wrong, and most of the time that's the issue, you're trying to get rid of something that's out there, we can help you do that. MedVersant knows how to direct you to do that as well. You move over providers, so you can see I've already loaded in 3 of the providers. They were over here. I associated them to a location. So if you're large clinics, this is perfect because you just sit down and you take a few minutes to align people up, and the address flows along with it. The WPA has every one of those people with the same addresses. You don't have to go in and write 500 Southeast, da-da-da-da. So yeah, it's already in there. As long as it's correct, it's already in there. So before I get to attestation, the providers who are moving around a lot, they may or may not have a One HealthPort account. This is where communication starts. So I'm working at the Everett Clinic today, and I'm leaving there and going to work for Family Care Network, right? So what I need to say is, hey, I had an application at Everett. So give them your login, provider, no passwords, just the login, and they can affiliate that login to Family Care Network. So that answers the provider who's working, getting a new job and moving over. If they do not already have a One HealthPort login, you just add them in. You nominate them and give them licensed practitioner. But if they're already working, the challenge for this application is providers who are multi-clinic. So they're a massage therapist at this clinic, and this clinic. 1 day here, 2 days here, and 1 day over here. They can do it on their single application, but if a credentialing manager is trying to do all their work for them, it raises some issues. Because remember what I said, 1 credentialing manager per provider. You can't have everybody taking control. You have to be in control of your list.
As far
Uh-huh.
provider, and then I was able to get into her account, even though she created the account herself. And then I was able to maintain the 2 locations.
Right, but she's affiliated to you.
Yeah.
You're the only credentialing manager. That's the difference. There wasn't
She signed herself up as just a practitioner.
Yep. So,
Lisa, can you repeat the?
Shay was expressing she has some unusual provider situations that come up. She's from Bastyr. Sorry, Shay. And she has a provider that she affiliated to her account and wondered why she could all of a sudden see all of that. It's because that provider was not a credentialing manager, and Shay is now the credentialing manager in charge of that record. So she wouldn't be able to affiliate or see if it had been different. Okay, so quickly, part of this application is also, I don't know how many providers are left in the room. Raise your hand. Okay, good, good. So now we're seeing the screens that a credentialing manager can see, but that lower left tab that says attestation, only a provider can see that. So right there, credentialing managers can't see that tab. You should not be logging in as a provider. It's a secure website. You should be logging in as yourself, and you will not see that attestation tab. So I wanted to point that out to you because I know there's been some people not using it correctly. This page on this tab, however, is the last page that you as a credentialing manager will get to see. And this is where you load in the the license, the liability, and any additional other documents that payers are saying to you.
I can't load in the insurance, the liability. I can do the history and the license, but not the liability.
So she's having difficulty loading in the liability. I think it's based upon how you answered the question earlier in the application, but that's where MedVersant would call you up and they would walk you through loading it. It might be your browser. If you have outdated technology, it does not work very well. Yes, Shay?
Confused whether to load it under managed documents first or application documents.
Sorry. I get confused whether to add the information, the documents, to upload them into managed documents first or in application documents.
Always
because it pre-populates sometimes.
Right, but always go to application documents because the reason for that tab is so you can edit out or delete old documentation. The managed document is more like a library. It's not a starting point. It will populate if you go to managed documents, but I always say start with the tabs, go all the way through them.
My question is, the providers, the plans that they get to select are now only available at the level of provider attestation, right? So my providers
Yes.
don't know not to check
Yes.
every single
Yes.
select all box. They select
Okay.
all, and then we're credentialed with people I don't want to be credentialed with.
Okay, so let me,
So that level should actually be manageable by the
credentialing manager.
credentialing manager, and it happens too late in the
Okay,
application.
so let me explain to you this scenario today, and this is something that MedVersant is working with us on. They actually put the selection of health plans that should have that provider record retrieved on the page where only the provider can access. It's a checklist. You can either do select all, which is not what I would vote for, or the ones that are appropriate that you're contracted with, correct? It's not accessible for the credentialing manager today. I'm working with MedVersant to move it. It's not as easily moved as I'm making it sound. It's not.
Then you chop it when you get a redo.
Okay. So for those of you who have not started to do this, gave up, and want to come back and do it because you're getting pressure now from those folks that I've mentioned, you need to go to your One HealthPort website, go to credential data. First, look at your organization, how you've set it up. If it's all correct, move on. Nominate your providers. There's documentation out there on how to do that. You need to let people know that it's there. Even if it's halfway there and you're not finished, you need to tell them that it's halfway there and it's not finished. They will give you more time if they know you're started. It's because it's hard. The first time you put it through, it takes a while. I know, I've done it like hundreds of times. I'm so, bored with it. But once you do it, because I tested it, so that's why I was doing it so many times. Once you do it, all you need to go in is edit and update. That's it. Lastly, that's me. So I'm going to leave it out there. That is the URL on what you get to on One Health Port to ask to find out the information. There's a question at the back of the room.
If I heard you correctly, it is accessible, it meaning someone can look it up by the address of the location. My concern is that there are 3 totally separate business people in the same address. We do not use a communal manager or a communal anything. We are totally separate in our business. If they begin going on your website and filling out the information, is that going to cause us a problem by using the same physical address?
It really has little to do with address and more
Okay.
has to do with, are you the credentialing manager
I
for those
am.
3?
No. For myself, my
Okay.
own business.
Okay.
They are separate, and I don't want confusion with
So
it.
I'll talk to you about your situation because
Okay.
it really is set up by your individual One Health Port account.
Okay.
Nobody can access other people's records.
Okay, thank you.
Last
Any-
question.
Anything else?
All right, please join me in saying thank you to Teresa. And let me thank all of you. And Teresa will just sounded the bell for adjournment. Thank you very much for coming. Please fill out the evaluations. It gives us a chance to make this a better experience for you. Thanks to Bill, to Teresa, to all our panelists and staff. Thank you very much.